You're listening to Healthy Living with Eric Sue Podcast, episode 164.
This episode is sponsored by Tower Garden, a vertical growing garden that grows herbs, vegetables, and fruits all year round. It's simple and easy to use. Forget about weeds. Just grow and harvest fresh produce. Want to learn more? Visit www.ericsue.towergarden.com.
First-time listener? Hey, welcome. My team and I hope you enjoy this episode. Long-time listener? We thank you for your continued support. No matter who you are, do us a favor and hit the share button so all your friends can hear this amazing content too. Alright, are you ready to be amazed?
Health tips, wellness advice, no hype. Welcome to Healthy Living with Eric Sue, the show that inspires, motivates, and educates you towards your healthiest life. And now your host, Eric Sue.
Hey guys, Eric Sue here. Welcome to another episode of Healthy Living with Eric Sue. We have a knowledgeable personal trainer with us today. His name is David Dyckman. We will be talking about the importance of proper lifting techniques. So without any delay, let me introduce you all to David. David, are you ready to make it happen? David has over 5 years of experience in strength and conditioning and a lifetime of experience in sports performance training. He is a USA Weightlifting Level 2 Advanced Sports Performance Coach. He's a certified weightlifting performance coach through Athletes Acceleration, NASM certified personal trainer with weight loss specialist, a CPR, AED certified through AHA, a gymnast for University of Iowa, and then graduated with a BA in exercise science from the University of Iowa. David, that was just a little bit about who you are. Can you share with us a little bit more on how you got started?
Yeah, I've been in fitness for my entire life. I was a gymnast since the age of 3. So, working out and staying in shape is pretty much all I know. Went to college originally to study sports psychology. Because being a gymnast, it's a lot of mental toughness, and you go through a lot of different things. Ended up switching over to exercise science. I enjoyed working with people and getting them to their goals and figuring out how to best help people improve their quality of life. So that's kind of that track. And I've dabbled in a few different realms of fitness, from CrossFit to personal training to gymnastics coaching. So I've worked with a lot of different types of people with different mindsets, and I ultimately came up to enjoying personal training and Olympic weightlifting the most. So that's what my gym is based around and where I've taken things.
Great, excellent. There's one question that my audience loves to hear the answer to, and that question is, what's one cool or unique fact about yourself?
Well, I'll take it back to the gymnastics. I was on the junior Olympic national team for a couple of years when I was younger, so that's probably, being a gymnast, you don't get too many different experiences. So a lot of my youth experiences come from the gymnastics realm.
Awesome. Sounds pretty intense. Was it pretty intense?
Yeah, you're normally training 6 days a week for 3-4 hours a day. So nice. You go to school, go home, go to the gym, go home, go back to school.
But the best experience of your life, you think, or one of the better ones?
Yeah, my work ethic has definitely stemmed from that realm. Being time-oriented and goal-oriented definitely stems from gymnastics.
Awesome. Very good. So let's dive into this topic that we concluded the other time we talked, which was the importance of proper lifting techniques. And, when you start training people and when you help people out, why do you think that's really important?
Well, so being a gymnast, again, everything is going to stem back from that. I've had my fair share of surgeries already. I'm 25, so I don't want my clients to have to go through the same things that I had to. So really focusing in on technique and making sure that everything's done properly based on their biomechanics really minimizes the amount of risk that we have to take and makes it so that they can get the most bang for their buck without getting injured.
Right. What have you gone through, by the way?
Had a slap tear in my shoulder. So when I was a sophomore in high school, in my shoulder, so I had to get my shoulder fixed. I tore my patella tendon and chipped my tibia when I was a freshman in college, and then just from overuse, I had one of my wrists worked on for carpal bossing, actually, which is very strange, but gotta have it fixed.
Yeah. What do you see people are doing that they could do better, and how do you help them?
I think the biggest thing that in general I see when they come in is hip mobility, or like getting into that bottom position on the squat. People spend too much time sitting in chairs, especially as you get older and you start having a desk job where your hips start tightening up and you just can't get the same range of motion that your body needs. So making sure you're staying mobile in the hip and the lower extremities is definitely a must. Yeah, I'd say that's the biggest thing I see when people come in here.
And what's the assessment that you take people through?
Most of the time I have them work pull squats first, so I'll let them hold on to like a beam or something like that, something sturdy, and just watch them go down, play around with their foot positions, try to make it as personalized of a squat position for that person as we can. And then from there, I'll give them flexibility stuff to work on, strengthening stuff to strengthen certain parts of the lower extremities or the lower back to allow them to hold certain positions a little bit easier while they're squatting. So it's, yeah.
I was going to say that you and I are probably similar in the fact that we want to make sure that alignment is there, hip, knee, and ankle alignment, and proper range of motion is there as well. Obviously, the people don't really do these movements regularly, and that's why they come see us. Yep. What is it that you're doing special or different? I understand the pull squat to assess them and everything. People listening to this, what do they have to watch out for if they don't have a trainer?
What do they have to watch out for? Rounding of the back is probably the biggest thing on any lift, actually. But for squatting, I'd say making sure that they go below parallel if they want to avoid knee strains or any issues with the patella area. Just because if you don't squat low enough, you're just loading up that small joint of the knee rather than squatting all the way down where you're loading more of the hips. So, yeah, making sure you're hitting depth and keeping your back tight.
Yeah, you may have been taught that people should be sitting as if they're sitting into a chair.
Yep.
And that chair height would be approximately, 18 inches, maybe 20 inches?
Yeah, I'd even go a little bit lower than that for a lot of people. If you look at third world countries or you look at like little kids, when they go to pick something up, they're squatting all the way down, getting their butts all the way down to the ground. So as long as you can do that and maintain a flat back and keep everything where it needs to be, you'll engage more muscles going further down. You'll get a better response from your body. So yeah, I'd say 18 is about the highest that I'd go.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And here's an interesting thing that maybe you can say it differently than I've said it in the past. Rounded back. What is that? What exactly is that? So people can get an understanding.
Hips tucked under, flexion of the lower back. So the lower back right above your butt pushes away from. Let's see, how can I say that? It curves the opposite direction that it normally does.
Okay.
The spine curves towards the belly button. When you're squatting, you want to maintain straight or slightly curved towards the belly button. You want to really avoid rounding away so that your spine's being pulled away from the belly button.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good description. The spine as a reference point. Very good. And then beyond the squat, which is, I guess, the king move there, what other movements, lifting techniques should people be looking out for?
Deadlifts. Again, that round back, when I was working in the CrossFit realm, it was far too often did I see people losing sight of what technique they should be using just to go faster or attempt to lift more weight. So yeah, doing more of like an RDL motion or a stiff leg deadlift, and using mostly your back and rounding your back on a deadlift. That I'd say that's the biggest one, and then also that the mixed grip on the deadlift. I don't believe too much in that. I know it's good for getting a stronger grip, but when you're looking at general fitness or you're looking at improving your overall strength, like the Olympic lifts or something like that, you're creating an imbalance in your body when you're doing that mixed grip, because now it's not a symmetrical movement. You have one side pronated, the other side supinated, so it's creating this imbalance in your body. And when you have that the supinated hand, you're going to be pulling a little bit harder with that bicep, and I've seen far too many people rupture a bicep. Not in my gym, but years I've seen too many people do that. So I'd say that's the other big ones, the round back and that mixed grip.
And for those who are not familiar with the deadlift technique, can you quickly describe what that movement is?
The deadlift is the epitome of weightlifting. You are doing exactly what you think. You're picking up heavy weights and you're putting it back down. The best way I explain it to my clients is it's almost like a squat where the bar is below you. You want to have the same general body position. You're going to bend at the knees, keep the back flat, flex at the hips, lower down to the bar, and then you stand the weight up and you lower it back down in the exact same movement pattern. So,
okay. Yeah. I guess you can always Google it, right? Yeah, absolutely.
Really just pick the bar up and you put it back down.
Yeah. I think there's a fascination to it because of CrossFit, I guess. Real quickly, what's your dislike of CrossFit?
Like about CrossFit, I like that it's getting people up and active. I find it more of a fad workout right now. People do really enjoy doing it. I give them props. I don't like breathing that hard and feeling like I'm dying, but I do like the fact that it gets people up and active and into the weightlifting world. It gets people exposed to the Olympic lifts, which is pretty cool because that's made that sport grow. And I know if we had more people actually focusing on the O lifts, we might be able to produce something in the Olympics for once. It's very far and few between.
Yeah.
Now, I like that they make them do body weight exercises like handstand push-ups and rope climbs and pull-ups and stuff like that. But that brings me to this part of CrossFit that I dislike the most, which is the techniques that they use to do the lifts. Being a former gymnast, the ways they go about doing the gymnastic part of CrossFit is terrifying, to say it nicely. I've never agreed with how they do a lot of the CrossFit gymnastic stuff, but I think it's a way that I think that's why so many people get injured doing CrossFit. They go into the butterfly pull-ups a little too quickly, so their shoulders aren't ready for it. Kipping handstand push-up, you're staying on your neck for an extended period of time and then trying to thrust yourself up using your neck and legs, and then you're crashing back down onto your head. Now, obviously, there are people that do it correctly. They lower themselves down nicely, and not everybody that does a kipping exercise is doing it incorrectly. It's just too often do you see people using the kipping just to get through the movements. And the other thing I dislike is the time-oriented workout. So you're trying to do lots of lifting, especially the Olympic lifts. Those should not be done high volume in the middle of a workout. They're too technical. It's too easy to mess something up and get hurt. So,
I was going to say, David, real quick, that's an interesting take from your perspective with that experience. And from someone who's just looking from afar or just observing, there are many types of people. Some people are like, wow, that's so challenging and interesting. And then there are people who are like, whoa, that's way too much, not for me, right? And, you know, there's got to be a balance or something that works. I don't know.
Yeah. And there's different type of programming for CrossFit. The ones that I've experienced the most are, they're very focused on the Metcons, the WODs, the workouts of the day.
Yeah.
So like the AMRAPs, the short bursts of energy that they do for those. And there's other ones that you see more of the high-level CrossFit athletes do, which are they do more strength-based workouts. They do conditioning, and then they'll do their Metcons occasionally. So they're working on the strength at one point, they're working on the conditioning separately, and then every once in a while they're throwing it all together so that they know how to do it when the time comes for a competition.
Right.
You have the two different, I'm sure there's more, but the two that I've seen, and it's two completely different mindsets, two completely different goals. One's healthier for the body than the other.
Let's just maybe slightly switch gears. How do you approach lifting then differently than CrossFit? What is your approach?
My approach, I do more, I guess you could consider it more of a bodybuilding style workout. I do splits, so depending on how many times the client's planning on coming in each week, I split their workouts up into different, so I'll do like a leg day one day, then I'll do upper body workouts, and I'll do a conditioning day every week. So once a week we do a conditioning day. And my goal for the clients is to increase their muscle mass, which in turn increases their metabolism, which helps them burn fat at a more consistent rate throughout the day. Mm-hmm. Whereas if you do a lot of conditioning or endurance training, so just like going out and jogging or something like that, while you're doing it, you're in a good burning state for fat. But as soon as you stop, it's not doing any work for you because you're not creating anything that's going to help you burn more in the long term.
Got it.
So we do a lot of strength training here, a lot of hypertrophy training. And again, the main difference between my gym and a CrossFit gym is my gym is very personalized, goal-oriented. So while person A might be doing this for weight loss, person B might be doing it just to get stronger, person C might be doing it for athletic performance. So it's everyone has their own workouts, and so when people come in, there's multiple different people all doing different workouts all at the same time. So it's not that cookie cutter approach that CrossFit kind of gears towards.
Yeah, that's a good point. And obviously with your training, you're making sure people are lifting properly to prevent injuries and to get the maximum results.
Exactly.
Yeah. I really like that setup, and as you were explaining your approach to fitness, it's exactly what I have been preaching ever since I graduated from Purdue in '99, and been training clients, and that's so true, and it's so how would you say, effective, because ultimately it's muscle mass that burns those calories 24/7 pretty much.
Yep.
So let me ask you this real quick, David. When you're seeing someone, let me get back to the lifting techniques. When you see someone who is improperly lifting, what is it that is the advice that you give this person?
Well, first I'll correct their form during the lift. So if it's something that's bad enough that it makes me cringe, or I look over and I see it, like I'll stop them in the middle of the set, and I'll have them drop the bar or whatever they're doing, reevaluate and get them in the right positions. If it's something that is just a little off, they'll finish the set. I'll go over, I'll talk to them about it, depending on how many clients I have in the gym at the time. And then I'll explain why you don't want to do it that way. I'll back it up with my knowledge, and I'll go about it that way. So just because I am a little bit on the younger side, I have noticed that being able to back up my information with knowledge tends to help people listen to me a little bit easier.
Yeah, totally. Do you help people with slight injuries and help them work through lifting techniques if they have some injuries?
Yeah, I actually have a guy coming in right now who is just recovering from a shoulder surgery from CrossFit. So I've been working with him on rehabbing that and trying to get back into lifting form. I had a lady who for the past 30 years has suffered from really bad migraines, just from almost anything would set it off, and now she's gone an entire month without having a migraine. So I mean, I work with pretty much anyone willing to put in the time and effort and really listen to me. The more, if you're injured or you have issues with your movement patterns, you'll have to spend a little bit more time working the technique before I allow you to throw some weight on there. But yeah,
okay,
pretty much anybody.
Yeah, I was going to say that everyone is on a different pace on their fitness journey, and everyone, although wants results like yesterday, right? It is a process, and everyone has to go through this process. Would you agree?
Yeah, for sure.
One other thing that I wanted to just talk about real quick with you, and knowing that you have this experience, which is, why would anybody lift Olympic lifts? I want to go back to that for a second here.
You can use it for a lot of different purposes. I mean, the main one that you see are athletes. It definitely works your explosive muscle tissue. So you can get faster off the line, you can jump higher, run faster, pretty much anything athletic related, the Olympic lifts will help with. And since they are more explosive, you will in turn burn a few more calories while you're doing it, so it's great for weight loss as well. And then they're just fun. It's a challenge. It's a compound movement that uses your entire body and makes you actually think about what you're doing rather than just mindlessly repping out on monotonous lifts. So it adds a little excitement to your workout.
Would there be one lift that you would recommend for beginners or someone to check out?
Out of the Olympic lifts, the clean is probably the safest. Just because you're not putting it overhead. I'd say the snatch is a little bit more advanced lift. That's the one where it goes from the ground and you get it up all the way overhead in one movement. The clean you catch on your shoulders. So again, that risk of getting injured is a lot lower on the clean if done correctly. Now, that being said, the snatch I do find easier to teach just because of where you pop the bar off of when you're trying to get it up, and it makes more sense to people. So if you're learning it on your own, I'd say go with the clean first. If you have a trainer that knows what they're talking about, both should be pretty easy to teach, but the snatch is definitely an easier one.
Okay. And these are, how would you say, beginner level? You can always start beginner level with these.
Oh, yeah. You can always take it. You can break it down to pretty much any. I've taught 7-year-olds how to do clean and jerks and snatches. So if you break it down correctly and you work from the top down, so you work from the hip, then you work from the knee, then you work from the ground starting points, it all kind of makes sense, and it's pretty easy to pick up.
What would be the frequency of this type of training if somebody wants to incorporate it into the regimen?
I'd say that really depends on what their goal is. I have my athletes doing it multiple times a week, and then more of my general clients, I might have them do some kind of a Olympic lift just to start off their workout. One, it helps get the body a little bit more warmed up after they've started their warm up. Two, they're a little bit more aware of what their body's doing at the beginning of their warm-up, so that the movement pattern's a lot more crisp rather than at the end where you're exhausting and you're just trying to get through the workout. And then 3, what was I going to say? It allows them to learn the movement on a more consistent basis. So like if you do a little bit every day, they'll remember it a lot better, and they'll learn it a little bit faster than if you do it once a week, twice a week, where it's a lot more spread out between attempts.
Absolutely. Cool. So something for my audience to consider. Find someone like David's caliber maybe, or experience, and give it a shot. It wouldn't hurt, right?
Yeah.
Definitely. And then just real quick here, it's totally different from powerlifting, or are they pretty parallel?
Powerlifting is more raw strength, so it's how much can you squat, how much can you bench, how much can you deadlift. And I mean, that has the same idea as an Olympic lift, but the movements themselves are completely different. They're both compound, but the deadlift, the squat, and the bench are a lot less technical, I almost want to say. I mean, there are lots of techniques that you can use for each one of those to help lift more weight, but if you look at how many different body parts are moving on each lift and where you have to try to catch the weight and what the weight itself is doing, the Olympic lifts are a whole nother level.
Yeah, that's probably a whole new discussion there. However, we're getting to the end here, David, so thank you so much for your time. Just the last few questions for you, okay?
Sounds good.
Awesome. Let's start off with any tips, maybe 3 tips that you have for optimal health and wellness for our audience. 3 top tips that you would give them.
3 top tips. Work out, sleep well, and eat well.
I love it. So basic.
Go back to the basics.
Yeah. Totally agree. And then last 2, how do people get a hold of you, and your last piece of advice?
How do people get a hold of me? I have a Facebook page. It's CR Elite Strength Training. You can go to my website and reach me there. Or you can email me at my first initial last name, so D Dykman at crelitestrengthtraining.com. Those are probably the easiest ways to get a hold of me. I think my phone number is on my website and the Facebook page, so you can also give me a call. Last piece of advice: do not be afraid to ask for help when it comes to lifting. Too many people see personal trainers as a waste of money. They're there to help you, and definitely look for one that's qualified. Ask for their qualifications. I don't think I've been asked my qualifications since I've opened my gym, but do your research on what that person knows, so you know you're getting the most bang for your buck. Yeah,
absolutely. Very good advice, David. Awesome info. I know my audience is going to learn a lot, and they may even reach out to you for some more Olympic lifting questions. However, at this time, it's the end, and I really appreciate you contributing, and maybe we'll talk again.
Perfect. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, David.
Have a good one.
Thank you so much for joining us today on Healthy Living with Eric Sue. Head over to ericwsue.com for full recaps of every show and Eric's health and wellness blog. Your healthy living life is waiting for you. So stay active and be safe.